Happy Black History Month, Montgomery County. The national theme for 2026 is the Century of Black History Commemorations, celebrating the 100th anniversary of the official establishment of Black History Month and its impacts. Because Black history is American history. It's clear that throughout Montgomery County's history, a long list of Black Americans have made significant strides, trailblazing and laying the foundation for future generations to come.
He was the county executive in Prince George's County. Yeah. I taught him in law school.
Did you?
Yeah.
Of course, that list includes the Honorable Isaiah Ike Leggett.
A foundation that I stick very close to today. A sense of satisfaction in trying to help others because my early life was such a struggle. Grew up one of 13 kids in abject poverty in Louisiana. 3-room house, not 3 bedrooms, 3 rooms, period. And most of my brothers and sisters, at least 8 or 9 of us were all there at least at one point. I was fortunate to get into college, sort of the back doorway. I was fortunate to do very well in the ROTC program, became a military officer, and a number of other things that were available to me along the way that allowed me to really be part of what I consider to be an amazing American story. It's a sense of how I could help others, because there are an awful lot of kids out there who are like Ike Leggett or others, who, if they get that certain break or opportunity, they can be successful. And when you look at it and you think about it, and the contours, the challenges, and to end up in Montgomery County, a place that I love, in the position and involvement that myself and wife and others have been involved in over the years, is a remarkable story.
In 1986, Leggett became the first African American elected to the Montgomery County Council and served on the council throughout 2002. For 2 years, Leggett served as the chairman of the Maryland Democratic Party before leaving that position to run for office once again. Leggett was also elected as county executive in 2006, the first African American to hold that office, among many other notable accomplishments.
I was really concerned about the county's finances, even when I was a council member. And so when we look at the parameters that guide us in terms of our spending affordability rules and so forth, you'll see that I had a great role in that. You look at the Inspector General. That was my bill to provide the Inspector General in Montgomery County to get greater accountability for that. If you look at the smoking ban that we had, at that time, Montgomery County was one of the first jurisdictions in the entire country to outlaw smoking in bars and restaurants and public places. But the most significant one, I think, was accountability and financial management of the county. And that was a dominant factor, I think, in most of my life in public service. This is the Legacy of Leadership Awards for the White House Fellows Foundation Association. And I believe that it was the first time that they ever given the award to a person who had worked mostly at a local level.
At the Leggett residence, the walls are mostly decked with photos of his many accomplishments throughout the years.
He established, you can read here, $1.7 million
for underrepresented students.
Yeah. When I look back on my service, it was a team effort. I had some wonderful people to help me along the way. My colleagues on the county council when I served, the council staff. When I served as county executive, I had an executive staff and a cabinet that was first rate. Every place that I served, I had some very good people who helped me along the way.
3, 2, 1.
So even though my name may be on all of that, it really been a team effort all along. Everything that I could think about in all aspects of my life, everything that you see around us, Chief, has been by way of partnership and people supporting me. And I'll never forget that.
From humble beginnings to a lifetime of service and commitment to his family, country, and community, leaving a long-lasting legacy.
But the thing that I liked most about my service was helping people who really needed help. If there was a concern, I was going to listen to it.
And all the strides he's made help pave the way for those after him. More local notable historic figures include Thurgood Marshall, who fought segregation here in Montgomery County, alongside local heroes like activist Christine Tina Clark, community leader James Baker, and early entrepreneur Romeo Harad, all pivotal in shaping the county's Black history through legal battles, community building, and advocating for equality in education, housing, and politics. Thurgood Marshall's key tie to Montgomery County was his pivotal 1937 legal victory in Gibbs versus Broome in Rockville, where he won equal pay for Black teachers, an early blow against school segregation that foreshadowed his later success in Brown versus Board of Education. He represented teacher William B. Gibbs Jr., arguing successfully in the Rockville courthouse that Black teachers were paid significantly less than white teachers for the same work. And Odessa Shannon, the first African-American woman elected to Montgomery County's Board of Education in 1982 and founder of the county's Human Rights Hall of Fame. And Geneva Mason, a community leader in the Scotland neighborhood whose name now graces streets formerly named for Confederate soldiers. As well as Gregory Wims, a sixth-generation native who became the first Black male Head Start teacher in the county and currently serves in the Maryland House of Delegates. As well as Judge DeLawrence Beard, the first Black judge appointed in Montgomery County.
Your Linda Plumbers, your Devance Walker, Roscoe Nix, Paul Vance, everybody who was involved in making this a better community.
All rise.
Continuing that legacy is Judge Carla Smith, the first African-American woman on the Montgomery County District Court.
One of the reasons I put in to become a judge was because if you looked at our bench, we really didn't have a lot of Black folks who were judges on the bench. On the third floor of the circuit court, we have a wall of photos of all the prior judges. And every Friday I would walk past that wall. I started looking at the wall saying, that wall does not represent our county. And I thought, well, I'm qualified. I have lots of trial experience, went to a top law school, I've done a lot of things in my career I'm gonna put in. And so that's kind of how it started.
But her accomplishments don't stop there. Smith was recently named the new administrative judge for the Circuit Court of Montgomery County.
I can recall one of my first dockets in the district court. All rise, walking into the courtroom and seeing Black people who were sitting in the courtroom and their faces light up. It's so important for people to see people who look like them. That helps shape how people feel about our justice system, right? For some people, it puts them at ease. And then the other piece, of course, is that when you have a diverse bench, you have diversity of ideas, diversity of experiences. All those things make for a better judiciary, in my opinion.
Highlighting why it's so important to remember all we've endured and conquered in the past so we can look forward to a brighter tomorrow.
I grew up in a household that was different than some. You know, my dad worked on the Hill. My mom taught elementary school at Bell Elementary around the corner. And they were very active in the NAACP. My parents would host meetings with the different Black activists in the county. It was part of my DNA, if you will. It's very exciting. It is daunting, but I think I'm up for the job.
To support the goal of bringing the county together to promote a better understanding of our history, there's the Commission on Remembrance and Reconciliation, which was formed in 2019 with resolution by Councilmember Will Jawando and former council members Hans Reamer and Craig Rice.
The commission was inspired by the work that Brian Stevenson has been doing in Montgomery, Alabama. He's been inspiring community actions all over the country to to really recapture a period of American history, this Reconstruction era, where unfortunately racial terror lynchings occurred across the country, including right here in Montgomery County.
The Commission on Reconciliation and Remembrance is important for at least two reasons. One, that we remember what happened here, that we remember John Diggs Dorsey, Sidney Randolph, and George Peck. Two of them were dragged out of this building and lynched nearby while mobs cheered and watched. And it was state-supported terror.
The commission has already established 3 markers.
We engaged in acts of commemoration, where we collected soil samples in the areas across the county where those 3 men were lynched. We also have established and erected markers, 2 here in Rockville and 1 in Poolesville for the 3 men that saw this terrible fate. What these markers are intended to do is to give a narrative description. It's hard in this amount of space, but to give some sense of the life that these men lived, that they were individuals that had a story that was taken from them without due process or justice. And so these markers give a sense of who they were and also the events that preceded their unfortunate deaths.
No one ever was held accountable for those deaths. And so it's important to recognize that we are a part of that history here of the country as we celebrate 250 years of the county and the country, 100 years of Black History Month.
We believe that this winding path towards reconciliation is long, but it has to begin with the ideas of truth. And so we're engaged in acts of community building so people can understand how these events took place, that they took place, and again, begin this process of reconciliation.
This is part of our history, and it's important that we commemorate it and learn from it and remember it.
And there's other historical sites throughout Montgomery County, including markers highlighting trailblazing fair housing efforts for Black residents thanks to Montgomery planning, like the Romeo and Elise Harrad House and the Beltway March of 1966 historic marker. Local historic Black communities like Lincoln Park, Scotland, Emery Grove, Stewarttown, Prathertown, and Quince Orchard had strong social and religious centers like churches and fraternal organizations, but some of those also faced poor living conditions like unpaved roads and lack of services. The Quince Orchard Historic Place, also known as the Pleasant View Historic Site in Gaithersburg, was the heart of a significant post-Civil War African-American community, featuring the historic Pleasant View Methodist Episcopal Church and the former Quince Orchard Colored School. Jason Green with the Commission on Remembrance and Reconciliation grew up in the historic Quince Orchard community.
I can date my family back to Quince Orchard into the 1830s. My great-great-grandfather, Gary Green. If you take another branch of my family here in Montgomery County, I can date it back to the War of 1812. And I could take you over to River Road and see his headstone there. But what that tells me is that the African-American story is quintessentially the American story. That Black Americans have been here weaving and making this tapestry stronger and better and brighter and more vibrant. And it's part of the work of this commission to lift up this component of history, because we just can't have a complete picture unless we tell the true story. In this effort to combat the efforts to rewrite history, but instead write a fuller and more contextualized history, that together, once realized and appreciated, we can still continue to move forward together.
There's a quote that says, "You can never know where you are going unless you know where you have been." Happy Black History Month, Montgomery County. May this be a reminder of why it's so important to honor and celebrate its true meaning.
Black history is part of American history. My belief is that it's central to American history. And hopefully at some point in time, we'll get away from having to designate certain days, certain months, that our history will be so intermingled and so respected among all people. But the ultimate objective should be that this is all part of American history. American history that considers the culture, the background, the experiences, leadership, and the contributions of everyone.
Black History Month is about remembering where we came from and focusing on where we want to go. How are we going to shape the future so that there can be more DeLawrence Beards, more Ike Leggett's, more Linda Plumbers? You know, how are we going to make sure that the next generation can do what they did times 100? That's kind of how I see the Black History Month and the importance of it. And as we say, Black history is American history.
The African American story is quintessentially the American story. Black history is American history. You can't have one without the other. We have to recognize the depth of that history if we're ever going to hope to overcome and try and work in a way that can build a more resilient, vibrant community together.
Black history is not separate from American history. It is American history. It reminds us that progress is possible, and it will happen for those who are willing to fight for it. Black excellence is not just the exception, but it is the expectation.
Black history is American history because many of the systems that you see, our ancestors built them not knowing if those systems would benefit them. I think it's important that as we go on in society, that we are continuing to speak up and speak out to let our young people, the future generations, the current generations know that we deserve to be here. This is our America too. I just want us to continue to work together, to be there for one another, and to continue to write our history.
Black History Month is a time for reflection, a reminder every year that Black history is American history. We literally built this country, that Black history is still happening. This is all about preserving Black history. It's even more important that we celebrate and preserve, but also continue to make Black history. Everyone who's American should know Black history. If you don't know Black history, you don't know American history.